I am so excited about today's episode. I'm really happy to have Marissa here with me all the way from France. So we were actually connected through Megan Barnhart. We want to give her a shout out. Thanks, Megan, for connecting us. But we were able to have a Zoom call, and we're both moms and just really passionate about having positivity. So we connected really through her posts where she was just discussing a little of her stress and anxiety with school starting again and this whole thing of kids returning, wearing masks, and all that. So it is so funny how life brings us together even across the world. So I'm so happy to have Marissa here today. And at this time, I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself.
Oh my gosh. Well, I thank you for that. Yeah, it's so funny. I'd totally forgotten about that post. I feel like that was like a lifetime ago and it was like 3 weeks ago. That's just how the sort of Corona coaster life, right? Just time. It's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's moving at the same speed. But yeah, I was so amazed to be connected with you. Your story so resonated with me. So like you said, I live in France, but I'm American. I'm originally from New York City, and my husband's an astronomer, so we had sort of moved to different places following, education. And then he was offered this job in France. And at the time we had a 20-month-old, and we were paying a whole lot of money, basically my entire salary as a genetic counselor going to childcare. So yeah, we're just sort of like, okay, let's go see what that's like. And now he is going to be 13. He's in 7th grade, and we have a 9-year-old who's in 4th grade. And kind of what I shared with you, Lachelle, and I think part of the reason why I was so drawn to you and is that our stories, despite differences, are very similar. So I don't have 15 kids, I have the 2, but
you can have some of mine, okay?
At this point, I feel like I would take them because I'm in such a different place. But I think, yeah, when we moved here, reality kind of set in, and learning how to go from being a working mom in the US to being a stay-at-home mom, navigating a new culture, trying to learn a language, trying to decide how I was going to work here because my genetic counseling degree didn't transfer. And I just pushed and pushed and pushed and really stopped listening to myself. And I ended up burning out very severely, and I got really sick. And at that point, I had a second son. It's just sort of like the universe, right? It's like that slap across the face. Like, you got a choice. You can either keep down this path, which is not going to be good for you, or you can find something
$1 for the donut.
Right.
And so it wasn't easy, but there was that moment where it was like, right, what am I going to do? And I made the choice to start doing the hard work, and found my way onto a healing journey, which led me to yoga and mindfulness. And what I shared with you on our Zoom call was that my doctor had sort of recommended yoga, and I had done yoga during my pregnancy, and but having 2 kids and being so burnt out, trying to get on my mat and do self-care every day was ridiculously hard. And it was putting on a kid's yoga video for my child that he could do while I did like adult yoga, that I like realized, like, I was like, oh, that looks so much more fun. Like, I want to do that. And so I got on the mat with him, and we got down, and so kids yoga was really my savior as an adult. because it was playful, it was fun, it allowed me to not take myself so seriously, to engage with my children. And so I became a kids yoga teacher, and now I do parent coaching and kid parent yoga classes, and I teach yoga in the schools here. Completely different life, and I'm in a much, much better place. But it was a hard journey, and it's still a journey, as we talked about. So that was a really long.
Oh no, it was perfect because, there is that element of, I mean, when you have overcome something, you really have understood what it was that was a catalyst for that overcoming. And I think that's important because a lot of people are in a place right now with reinventing themselves and, dealing with this virus and, what that means, with their income or their role within their household, right? And so that's the thing, that people don't really have an example, because some of these things we just don't talk about, especially depression. That's a subject that, it's commercials, we talk about it and we allude to stress and anxiety, but nobody really talks about, well, what does that look like? How does that feel? How, can you be normal to everybody else, but then you're feeling depressed and stressed out, So I think it's good.
And I think to that extent, right? Like I had suffered with depression in college, and then in retrospect, probably had postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
But they were so different in how they presented themselves. And then when we moved to France, it was so different in how it presented itself. And so at the time, even though I thought I knew what to look for, it was so different. And I think that's something that people, like, to your point, that you see things on TV, or, you hear one woman or one person's experience, or you have your own, and it might not be the same next time. The presentation might not be the same. And with COVID, I think, it's very similar to the, I know from your story and from my story, like the impetus of the depression was not having control over a certain situation that we were trying to exert control over.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what, on a universal level, we're dealing with COVID, right? Like,
so true.
No control. And and we don't know when it's going to stop, and we don't, and I think so. I totally agree with you that this sort of universal stop sign of COVID, like, you cannot push yourself through this. You cannot, you cannot control the situation. So what are you going to do? Where are you? Like, what's your choice? And it's not true. Right. It's not, but it's like, it's in your face.
It is so true. And I think, that is so funny that you would say that, because I've told everybody, welcome to my world with this pandemic. I think had it been during that course of me struggling with depression, I would have a totally different outcome. But I feel like in some ways with that experience, it is just allowed me to be in such a better place of clarity, of knowing what I can and can't control, and, having peace about that. And I mean, right now, that's a major thing to have with everything that's going on, from people losing loved ones to their job, or, even their own health, so it is just really a unique spot to be in, so that's just one of those things that's kind of crazy, to be grateful for some of your experiences that you feel like as you experience them, they were like, it just doesn't get any worse than this. I am at rock bottom. I'm like, when is this going to end? And now to be able to say, it was a blessing, because it's helped me be where I am today. Right.
Exactly. And I think that's what, we were talking about this on our Zoom call when we first met, like, when you're in it, you're just like, it's never gonna end. Like, or you're like, when's this gonna end?
Right.
Like, and that's part of the cycle that stops you from healing, right? Because you're just like, I just want this to end, like just get it over with.
Right.
And it's when you're like, okay, like I have no control over the timing of this. The only control I have is taking it one moment at a time, doing what I can do today, healing what I can heal today. And then, you know, looking back on it, like I said, I mean, that was 2012. Like it blows my mind when I think about like 8 years have gone by and I look at myself, like pictures of myself then, and I'm just like, who was that person?
Isn't that the truth?
You know, and it's, like you said, it's that hindsight of hindsight 2020, right? Like it's that hindsight of, man, at that time I had no concept that I was going to get through it.
No concept.
And now it's like, not only did I get through it, but I laid this really strong foundation for myself that I could build the rest of my life on. So like, you know, it's not like bad, you know, like COVID happened, like other crappy stuff happens. So it's not like there aren't other triggers. I just have a toolbox that I can use to help me cope with the reality of the moment.
I love that. And that is so key right there because, you know, we go through experiences to teach others. You know, it's like you learn it and then you teach it to someone else, you know, so they can be in a better place. So I love the way
what we were sharing the other day, right? Like it's still a learning process.
Right.
You know, it's like we are never going to be at the finish line here. Like,
so true.
So you're learning it to, you know, to share your experience, but like everyone has their own experience. And so as much as I am teaching, I'm still learning. And I love that because every single day, like, you know, when I go to teach kids yoga, like children are teaching me things, especially around COVID and coping, right? Because they have a very different outlook. And so it's a beautiful kind of acceptance of, again, of just like, it's never going to be over. I'm never going to wake up one day and be like, I arrived.
Right.
Hello, finished. I'm going to be happy for the rest of my life. Like, that's just not reality.
Yeah.
And so that's not even a story I have anymore in my head, you know, which I had for a long time. Like, oh, I feel better now. And then I'd have a bad day and it was like, oh my God. I was like one step forward, 3 steps back. And now it's like, oh no, like, okay. It's still one step forward. Like, so.
Yeah, you know, and I love that point because, you know, that's how it was. Everything was tied to my roles. So if I was doing good, you know, if my kids were on honor roll or, you know, they made a good grade, the minute something hits the fan, then it's like, woe is me. I'm the victim. I can't believe it, you know, gloom and doom. And it was just this emotional roller coaster from things that really were outside of your control, you know, so you just imagine. And, you know, you're waking up, you're in a good mood, and, you know, something happens with your children. Now, they are experiencing school for the first time for themselves. You've already been through school. So if they get a bad grade, what is that got to do with me? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we need to get a tutor. This concept we're not getting. I mean, I just was not even able to grasp that. I just was like, you know, I'm the mom and I'm working with them on their homework. So why are they not getting it? You know, not even thinking.
I'm smart. What's wrong with me?
Exactly. You know, I mean, I'm explaining it to them. Why are they not getting it? And so it's just that concept of thinking through your own eyes what somebody should be doing, which you can't control, rather than seeing it from their eyes, you know. And it's even something as simple as nursing, you know, each child that you nurse, they're nursing for the first time. So you can't just be like, I've done this, I'm a pro. Now, what's wrong with you? You see what I'm
Exactly. And I think, building on that, like this actually just happened, a conversation I just had the other day
saying?
with somebody here who was asking about school because their child has just started school here.
Mm-hmm.
And they are really unhappy with the education system, right?
Oh, okay.
Because to your point, like it's different than what they experienced growing up where they are. And when Owen, my oldest, started school here, I had that same, like what you're saying. I was like, wait, but like the teachers are really strict. And what is this like? They're not learning their letters. They're just drawing like spirals. What the heck is going on here? And I was so, and again, that was sort of at the beginning of my healing journey.
Yeah.
Kind of, I was 2011. So that was like kind of what maybe the straw that broke the camel's back for me in some ways was like this, I don't understand. And I'm trying to talk to them and they don't get it. And,
Right.
and what I realized as, now from this perspective and talking to this woman looking back was I had strict teachers when I was a kid. I had bullies when I was a kid. I had, all of these experiences that kids have, and I still survived childhood. So like trying to go and yell, like what a waste of time it was for me to go and try and have a communicate, like try and explain to the principal of the preschool that my kid went to that she wasn't teaching correctly, even though she had 25 years of experience teaching in their school system.
Right.
And the irony again, or like, their education system's different. So penmanship is really important. So those spirals that he was drawing led to him writing in cursive at 5.
Right.
And so there was a method to what I thought was their madness.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the kids are doing great. So we have this like comparisonitis, like I turned out good, so you need to follow the path I followed, but my kids are not me.
Right.
And I was not my parents. So,
Right.
Allowing that for me was a major turning point of my healing, was recognizing that my kids were having their own experience on this planet. And the more I tried to mold them into the experience I had or push my mold onto them, the more I was stressed. Like they didn't, like you said, like it's their normal. They don't care. Like there's nothing wrong with school to them.
Right.
Right? This is just
right.
normal.
Exactly.
Like you said, like they're nursing, like there's nothing wrong with them. They're just learning how to navigate it themselves. And you're telling them, no, you're doing, like your experience is wrong because it's not like mine. That's about me. That's not about them.
So true. And I mean, that's the quickest way to kind of realize that because, even if you are trying to recreate this scenario for them, the perfect education or, they will begin to stand out and be different amongst their peers. That's another thing. So it's like, you're in a catch-22. You want your kids to be educated the way you were, but you were educated in America. So they're in France. So are you trying to alienate them even more when they're, blending in, so to speak, and, not having that issue of feeling like they are different than everybody else, instead of recognizing what they have in common. So I think when we get to that point of just getting over ourselves, right? Because it's so self-absorbed,
Yeah, like it's like what is wrong with me? And it's not wrong. Like what
right.
am I saying that I feel like I need to control their experience? Like what is my discomfort in this situation? And my discomfort, especially with the education system, was I don't know what to expect next. Right? Like that's really what it came down to. Like control. Right? Like in the US, if like you had a strict teacher, I had a strict teacher, I know that like 9 months is going to go by and then next year you're going to have another teacher. So you're going to figure this out. Like, but I didn't know, like, I don't know who, your mixed levels here. So he was in, you know, a 3-4 classroom. So I was like,
Right.
oh, like, next year he might have the same teacher. And so it really was about that, right? It was
Right.
about my discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what to expect.
So
And
true.
sitting with that, and I think that's, you know, for me, the last, I realized this during pretty early into our confinement here in France.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents were Holocaust refugees and they left Europe, and so and it took them 11 months of going around Europe and living in a car, sleeping in, like, they slept in a brothel, they slept in barns, like wherever they could, until they were able to get a visa and a boat to get off of Europe, and they went to Brazil. And like, it was this connection to my ancestors that I felt during COVID. Like, there was this is okay, because other people generations before have gone through things like this, not the same, different experiences, but trauma and challenges, and life still went on and the earth kept spinning. So whatever gets thrown at me right now is bigger than me in this moment in time, and I get to make a choice again and again, like, understanding that I did the work so that, like, I had that in my toolbox already to say, like, what is my choice about this COVID experience? Am I going to sit here and wish that it didn't happen, that it wasn't going on, and be in that anger and frustration? Or am I going to say, I wish it wasn't going on, and I'm going to make a plan so that my family can get through this as safe and healthily as we can.
I love that. I love that. That's good. And I think also, a choice is in our toolbox.
Yeah.
Many of us don't recognize that we have a choice. We just like, oh, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. I mean, that's even this whole thing. There's a debate about masks. Should you wear them or should you not? You know, um, People are saying we don't have our rights because we have to wear a mask when we go in certain places and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, we have choices, and that's one of the things that we really need to be mindful of. And I think we just get lost like a raft out in the ocean, just tossed to and fro, forgetting that we do have a choice.
Yeah. And that we get to base our choices on understanding the consequences of them, right? Like,
That's good.
um, so, I mean, I think that, well, to the mask, yeah, sure, I don't have to wear a mask, and this could happen if I don't. I can wear a mask, and this is what's going to happen if I do. And in genetic counseling, we talk about it as being informed choice, right? You're like, do your research, find out what the consequence is, get informed so that you're making the best choice for you and your family, for you and your community. And then, you're making it from a place that isn't about fear. It isn't about trying to, like, push back on the man or whatever. Like, it really is coming from that place of, like, coming more from, like, what's in my best interest, and what's in my family's best interest, what's in my community, what's my values. If my value is about protecting myself and my community and my neighborhood, then I'm going to make different choices than if it's just about being angry at the world. And for me, we have the same conversations here in France. I think even living in France, right? Like, we are making a choice to stay here. It means we live 5,000 miles away from family. And so right now, that means that we can't physically be close. We can't get on a plane and go and be with our family. Last year, that choice didn't feel as scary, right? Because it was like, we're 5,000 miles away, and if something urgent happens, we can get on a plane and go back. Or if there's a holiday or a celebration, like we can get on a plane and go back.
Right.
So yeah, like our choices have consequences and they change, and then you can reevaluate. And that's the dance that you do, right? When choice is in your toolbox, because you're always learning and you're always adapting, and the information's always changing, and so
I think
you're
that
not glued to a choice, right? You're not like, yeah.
I love that. And because I think the whole thing too about even having self-control and understanding where you want to be with your values, even though we have the ability to do something, sometimes it's best for us to abstain, you know? So if someone comes to me and they're argumentative, and even though I can argue back with them, you know, even the choice to not do it, you know, because what am I going to accomplish? You know, I think a lot of us don't think beyond the moment, you know, and being intentional and knowing, you know, what really is the purpose, and looking at these things from a lens of, you know, what is the goal and objective. And when you kind of have a bigger, broader view, you're not running into this situation of living moment by moment, making decisions that can impact way beyond the face-to-face encounter that you're having with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, can I share this, like, as sort of like transitioning into yoga and mindfulness?
Absolutely.
I shared this on an IGTV as well, and I think you saw it, but it's the your hand is a brain.
No, I didn't see that one. Okay, so this is good.
Because it shows, and it's a visual for like kind of what's going on in our brain when we're like coming to these conversations from that place, right?
Okay.
So basically, like you can visualize your hand as a brain.
Okay.
So your arm is your is your spinal column,
okay.
right? And then your kind of bottom of your hand right here is this part.
Okay. Okay.
So is your like the base of your brain, your medulla oblongata, and it's the part of your brain that controls your breathing, your heart rate. So everything's happening unconsciously, right? So it's this part right here.
Okay.
And then you put your thumb in. Your thumb is your lizard brain. So it's your fight, flight, flee, right? Like we call it the lizard brain, but it's like your prehistoric brain.
Okay.
So instinct. And then this back part, when you close your brain down, and this is actually like the shape of your brain, right?
Okay.
The shape of your brain. This back part of your brain is where, and it's true, like this part of your brain is where your senses. So it's a conscious part of your brain, but it's where like it controls your senses, your language, the things we don't really think about that are going on and are happening.
Okay.
And then this front part of your brain, right here, your forehead, is your prefrontal cortex. It's your executive functioning. It's like the thinking and logic and processing part of your brain.
Okay.
So it's all happening here, right? In this tiny part, like this, just a small fraction of your brain.
Right.
And so when you are kind of faced with something that makes you like feel fight or flight, right? Like you flip your lid. Your prefrontal cortex like kind of flips up, right? And it exposes that instinct, that fight, flight, or flee.
Okay.
Fight, flight, or freeze. And when we're in that place, and I mean, you see kids do it all the time, right? They're like, ah,
Right.
and they, when a kid's having a tantrum and you're just like, I'm just going to let this go. Like there's not, I can't, as a parent, you get into fight, flight, or freeze. Your kid's having a tantrum. What do I do?
Right.
Like, ah, and like, especially if it's at the supermarket, right? Everybody's judging me. Here's a lollipop to stop crying. But when you leave your kid alone and just like, it passes, right? Because their prefrontal cortex like soothes itself, it comes back down, and they're able to get back into their thinking, processing, as we are, right? And so I love this as an example, and I use it in my yoga classes all the time and in my parenting classes, because kids get this, right? They get that, like, oh, I'm mad. Like, if I show up and start having a conversation with somebody when I'm mad, like this, they're going to flip their lid. And then it's like our lizard brains are having a big battle. But if I just wait and take a few deep breaths and calm myself down and recenter, then I can like get back into the, like you said, that sort of how do I move forward in this conversation? I have a choice. Am I just going to walk away because this, you know, bully is really big and scary and like doesn't have control over me, so I'm just going to turn around and leave? Or am I going to try and confront this, but from a thinking place?
I love it.
And it's just,
That's
I love
good.
it.
Well, you know, and even one thing I would add to that is if you're in the reptilian brain, you know, they're not doing anything but actions. So either they're fighting, flighting, or freezing, but they're not talking, not doing anything else. It's all that. So if you really want to resolve something, you know, are you really going to get a lot accomplished if everybody's moving around and know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because like you said, like we are so programmed to be triggered when we're in that fight, flight, or freeze. So if you are in that fight, fight, or freeze, having a conversation with your child or your spouse or your like boss or anyone, right? Like they sense that, they know that on an like, and it's going to trigger them in a different way. So if you say something like, that's why we say hurt people, right? If you're here and you're hurt, you're going to say something that's going to hurt the other person that you wouldn't normally say if you were in like the thinking part of your brain.
Right.
And so you hurt them, and then they get mad, and then they hurt you, and now like you're saying, like you're having this battle, this like, you know, who can have more control,
right?
Which is a losing battle.
Losing, yeah. That's good. I like that. I have to use that with my kids. Or look, some of my clients, okay? Because
it's such a fun way, and like I said, everybody gets it. And I think it's funny because my 9-year-old the other day was like, Mom. Right? Like he could, like, he knew exactly. And this is what you know, was a big change for me, was being able to have this way of, in my toolbox, of explaining things and then explaining them to my children, and finding the fun in it, right? The Mary Poppins. So like when my son goes like this to me, like I can't be mad. Like like it just makes you laugh. It breaks that tension.
Yeah.
And so he's learned that now is like a strategy. When he gets in trouble, he's like, I know what I did.
Well, you know, the good thing is that's an illustration that he's listening to, right? Because we're always like, are they listening to me? But hey, we got to take what we can get. So that was a good one to teach.
Well, and like you said, they all have different personalities. So he's much like, he communicates really well. So he gets, and my 12-year-old, right? Like he's like, and it's puberty, but his personality is just like, you kind of be like, oh, I remember. And he's like, oh, right. Yeah. Like he remembers, but he won't like show you.
Exactly.
But it does, it allows, it cuts the tension. And when you can cut the tension, then you close that so much faster, and you get returned to that thinking part. And then you're on the same page and you can have, like you said, you connect with those values.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just show up differently. And so I love that, because I was going to show you some kind of like a fun yoga.
Yes, we had planned for our kids to be here, but life happens, right?
I know. My
Hope
9-year-old
is like over here snoozing.
But I wanted to show you some really fun ways that you can practice yoga and mindfulness. This is a great one too, because it's very mindful.
I like that.
Your kid. But some fun ways that you can bring connection to the yoga mat, so that you're exercising and moving your body. Your children are exercising and moving their bodies. You're spending that time together, so they feel like they're getting your attention, which at the end of the day is really what they want. Right?
Absolutely.
And I imagine with 15, it's a whole lot harder to give them like attention than it is when it's 2.
Right.
And a lot more frustrating when they're all together at the same time. But I'm going to turn my screen around.
Okay.
I can, so excuse the mess.
Oh, you're good.
I tried to clean a little bit. But I don't know if Hope wants to join us, because I know
Okay. She's snoozing. She fell out. Okay.
She's the tired little girl. So let's just start sitting down.
Okay.
I just like to start by centering myself. So I, as you can tell, I'm a pretty dynamic person. So I just kind of rock back and forth and find that. And this really helps kids too, because sometimes they don't want to sit still. And then I take a deep breath in, and we're going to lift the arms up and try and touch the ceiling, and just notice your spine, like the bones in your spine getting really long, and see if you can get a little tiny bit longer. And we're going to bring our arms out to the side and put them down. And we're going to paint a rainbow. So as you breathe in, let's reach one arm up and paint a rainbow, all those colors, red and orange and yellow, green and blue and purple, all the way to the other side. And then paint your rainbow back. And then with the next breath up, draw it from the left, all the way over, making a double rainbow. And then back. And it's such a great time with, like, in some of my kids' classes, I'll talk to them about what a rainbow is and when we see it. And so it's a great time to kind of have that science chat.
Sorry about that. My cat jumped up there.
And then we're going to no worries. Having cats in the class is like having the 3 to 6 year olds in my class. Right. And then we bring our rainbow, we're going to push ourselves up and bring our rainbow and paint it all the way up to the sky. And then we're in a nice big sun, and we can do our sun salutation. So this is a beginning of yoga and most yoga practices. And so we just breathe in and we say hello to the sun and look up at the big sun. And then bend down and let it all hang and say hello to the earth. Just as far as you can go. There's no pressure. Just feel your head and your neck, everything release. Say hi, earth. And then I like to make a butterfly with my hands and fly my butterfly up to the sky. And then fly the butterfly all the way down and let it come and rest on the floor. And we're going to bend our knees a little bit and be a frog. And just kind of jump. Jump a little bit like a frog. If that feels okay. If it hurts your joints, you can just stay down and kind of bounce. And we're going to go and say hi to that cat. So we're going to get on all fours and make a cat pose. And just round your back up like a cat with that scared. And then we're going to push your heels or your toes into the ground and try and lift your butt up off the floor into dog. And just see if you can push your butt all the way up. And you can wiggle your tail, wiggle your butt like a dog waving his tail. And you can even lift one leg up. So my kids like to pretend they're a dog going to the bathroom and pee on the fire hydrant. And on the other side, so just lift one foot up. And bring it back down. And then we're gonna come and we're gonna lie down on the ground and we're gonna be a snake, slithering on the floor. Just kind of lift your shoulders and your chest up a little bit to get a nice stretch in the back. And then we're gonna come back to our cat, rounding that back. Nice stretch. And then back to that dog, lifting your butt up to the ceiling. And then we're gonna walk our dog, so bring your feet close towards your hands and go back into that frog. Kind of hop. And I'm just hopping in your direction. And then find your butterfly and bring your butterfly all the way up. And then down to your chest. And take a deep breath in. And just notice what's going on in your body. Notice how your head feels, your shoulders, your chest and your belly, your legs, even all down to your toes. And notice with your breath how your body's moving when you breathe in and when you breathe out. And then we're gonna step our feet out a little bit. And I thought because it is getting close to Halloween time, that we would do a little Halloween themed, superhero themed poses. And I thought that this is a great way. So I know a lot of kids like to get dressed up for Halloween as superheroes. So I'm just going to show you some superhero poses. And this is the part of yoga where I love just telling stories. Okay. And so if your kid has a favorite superhero, they can make up stories themselves. So superheroes have to do a lot of training, right, to get big and strong. So first we're going to lift up one leg and we're going to train and try and really stretch. And then go to the other side. Stretch. And superheroes need to do a whole lot of flying around, right? So we're gonna practice our flying. So we're gonna lift our arms out to the side and then bend forward and try and lift one leg up off the ground like you're flying. And this is really good for your balance, which helps with concentration. It's hard to think when you're balancing. And then with the other side. And I think this is such a great, we were having this conversation the other day about balance, that you're never totally stable when you're balanced, right? You're always kind of a little bit. So I think this is really a good metaphor for balance in life. And then the Incredible Hulk is really strong, so he's going to kind of do some nice strength training. So he's going to come up. And this is actually a goddess pose too, so this is a great pose for women. Not for super pregnant women. If you're super pregnant, do not do this. Except right before you want the baby to come out.
Right.
And it's okay. And then last time, Incredible Hulk.
Now, should you, in yoga, do you make noises? Like, you know how they do like in karate?
Because I think kids really like it. And it's fun. So with Incredible Hulk, I'll be like,
yeah. Right.
Even You can even stick out your tongue, which is lion's pose. And I love lion's pose because, and I'll even come closer because like you go, and stick your tongue out and open your mouth as wide as you can. And when you do that, you're actually releasing a lot of tension in your jaw, which is where a lot of us carry our tension.
Okay.
Like we grind our teeth or like, make faces and we get really tight in our jaw. So, oh, hello, kitty.
That cat, hold on. Okay. Can you
say? Hilarious. I hear lion's breath. And then my favorite is Batman. So with Batman, we're going to do bat pose. So we're going to just cross our legs, and then you're going to lift your arms up. And if you can lift one leg off. Oh my goodness, I'm totally losing my balance today. Maybe I can't today, it happens. But just you lift one leg up so there's this adding a little bit of a balance to it. Otherwise, you can leave your foot down. And we're just you're going to bend your knees a little bit and flap your wings. This is Batman. Okay. It's also like eagle or Ramadan if you were doing dinosaur theme. And then you can also just cross your arms. So this is eagle pose if you're traditional yoga. And whenever you do something on one side, you're going to want to do it on the other. So we're going to recross and do Batman on the other side. Feels a little bit easier to balance, not too much. Keep my foot down today. It's Friday.
It's Friday, girl.
I'm crossing those arms. Oops, I think that's the side I crossed before. And there's always they often feel different. This side feels very different for me. So we did the Hulk and we did Batman and we flew like a superhero. What other superheroes do your kids like?
Superman.
Superman,
Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Oh, so Wonder Woman. So I like doing Wonder Woman. Yeah, how can I forget Wonder Woman? So I do Wonder Woman as chair pose because she has that super cool invisible jet, right?
Right.
So we're going to sit down. So spreading your legs about hip width apart, which is really important for women because our hips are wide. Okay. And then as you sit back, you're going to imagine there's a chair behind you. So you're going to sit back and keep you're sort of sliding back so that your knees stay behind your toes. Okay. All right, so you don't want your knees like this. You do one back. So Wonder Woman's in her spaceship, in her invisible airplane, and she can fly. And she's got her lasso. And if your kids are super creative storytellers, you can totally make a story about how the Justice League is saving the day. You can even do a pose with a villain. I'm trying to, my kids are sort of just beyond that age, so I can't think of any of the villains off the top of my head. But my son's favorite favorite superhero was Spider-Man for a long time.
Oh yeah.
So for Spider-Man, it's similar to Hulk, but we're going to push our hands outward as you come down.
Okay.
So, and kids can make up whatever they want, right? And so it's
like he's doing his whatever with the web. Okay.
And then also you could even do him go swinging from side to side. So you can bring your both arms up and he can swing from one side and then swing over to the other, like he's swinging from one spider web to the other. And this is really good for us moms too, because it helps our psoas, the muscle that goes up your spine and helps you with twisting. And kids love it because they like to go really fast. And then we can bring our hands down And then just gonna kind of be, oh, we could be octopus. Isn't there an evil guy called Octopus or something?
We can make it up, girl.
I feel like that was from some Spider-Man movie, so we could do the octopus. So let's actually come and sit down.
Okay.
And we're gonna lift up one leg and then the other leg. So you're kind of doing boat pose. You're trying to balance here on your butt and bring your arms up if you can, and kind of wiggle like an octopus. And then this brings us, since we're lying down, we can do Superman. So we'll get back down onto our belly. And we'll put our hands out and lift your hands up and your feet up, and you can fly like Superman. And then coming down, you can try it again, go up and fly. And then last time, up and fly. And then I like to just kind of rest here. We've done all these different poses, taking some deep breaths. You can roll over onto your back or onto your side, or if your child likes to stay on their stomach, they can do that too. And superheroes have to take really deep breaths because it takes a whole lot of energy to fly around and save the world. And so they need to rest. And when they're resting, their body's doing a lot of work. Their muscles are growing, and their brain is storing all the information of all the addresses and names and superpowers of all the villains. So superheroes really need to rest too. And as you are breathing, you can have your hands on your belly. And as you take a deep breath, fill your belly like a giant balloon. And then as you breathe out, pop your balloon and let the air go out. So breathe in and fill up your balloon as big as you can. And maybe your balloon has a color. And then pop your balloon and breathe out and let the air come out. And see with each breath if your balloon changes color or size as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Let your balloon empty all the air. And this time we're going to sound like a balloon. So we're going to inhale and fill up your balloon with tons of air. And then when a balloon usually lets go of its air, it makes a big loud noise. So we're going to do that with our lips. Breathe in, fill up that belly, and then let it out. And breathe in. And that breath is a little bit more dynamic, so it's kind of waking us up a little bit. And we're going to bring our legs up towards the sky. You can have your knees bent. And just squeeze those toes and kind of like you're making a fist with your toes. Squeeze them and then just release. And then squeeze them. And try and squeeze the muscles of your legs all the way down to your butt. And then release and let your legs fall back down. And then inhale and bring your legs up and squeeze them super tight, 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 tight. And release and let them fall down. Now you can just kind of lay them out. And we're going to do that with our hands. So we're going to reach our hands up towards the sky and squeeze your hands, your fists, really tight. Let the muscles of your whole arm get tight. And then release them and let them fall down. And inhale and bring those arms up. Really, really, really tight. All that tension, because we get so tense during the day, just let it go into your muscles right now. And then as you exhale, let it out and let your hands fall. And then reach your hands up one more time towards the ceiling. Squeeze really tight. And let them fall. And now we're going to do our whole body. So even your face. So we're just going to squeeze like you're so mad. And then exhale, just let it go all out. And inhale and squeeze. Make those muscles so tight. And exhale. And this time, like a giant ball, so you can bring your knees into your chest and maybe lift your head up and squeeze. I'm so tight. Tight in my balls. I'm mad and sad and angry and all of these feelings that come up during the day. And then as you exhale, you can just let them go. And lie down. And take a few more deep breaths in, lying here. Noticing how your body feels after those few breaths and the muscle contractions and releasing. Moms have to be super moms sometimes, and kids have to be super kids. So stressful.
Get down. My cat is over here again. Get down.
Like kind of pretending that you're a piece of spaghetti. So like let your arms and your body kind of wiggle as you roll yourself over to the side and come back up to sitting. And then we're just gonna keep like that octopus dance to get our body back and centered into this, a nice comfortable seated position. And then I did my training with Kidding Around Yoga, and so we finish with a little mantra or affirmation, which I love, and it's kind of what we were talking about with the hand thing, a great reminder for kids. And we're gonna do a little bit of movement with it because it helps kids and adults make the connection. So with each word, we're gonna tap our thumb against different fingers.
Okay.
Okay. So I usually have my hands down here, but I just want to make sure you knew what I was doing.
Okay.
So the 4 words are peace begins with me.
Oh, love it.
Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And you can just say it as many times as you need, feel re-centered, re-grounded. And it's a great thing to say during the day if you notice that you need a little extra love and a little extra time to put your lid down so that you protect your lizard brain. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And then that's it.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that little thing because that is a good distraction.
Isn't it? And
if you are like fired up and you got to focus on doing that, it's very good. That's
and
good.
I will even do it like in the car sometimes if like it helps me with road rage. Which I'm an issue with sometimes.
Yes.
And the other thing that I'll add, and this, I have the opt-in to my website, which I created a while ago, was lion's breath, and we talked about it, and the cat responded to it. So I feel like it shows. But that like silent scream, that like releasing that air, the like, that has totally become the symbol for my children as well. Like this is one of them, but that's another one. Like if I get mad, if I'm frustrated, and I'll do this a lot in the car, before I go pick up my kids, or we'll do it together after school, just to kind of release that frustration, like to reground ourselves in that moment. So it's just like,
Okay.
with me.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has just been so much fun, Marissa. I feel
So
like I've been at your house and we've had a nice little, nice little conversation together, you know?
I am so grateful to Megan
Yes.
connecting us, and just the level of support that you are providing to so many people. Like I shared with you earlier, like everything that you talk about resonates
Mhm.
and on so many levels, and it is so inspiring that there are women like you out in the world who are using what you've learned and sharing your knowledge and role modeling how to be a super mom, and that super mom doesn't mean you have to be perfect.
Right. I love that. Hey, well, I sure appreciate it and so glad that it got to you way across to France. You know what I mean? That's just another blessing from coronavirus because if it wasn't happening, who knows if we would have been connected, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
coronavirus.
yes. I got to look at all the blessings because I tell you, I have gotten so many great friends and connections as a result of it, you know? So,
Yeah,
um, I'm just looking at the glasses. I'm not even looking through the glass. I just see water overflowing. So, how about that?
we will get through this, right? And
Yes.
that is not to take away from the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people dying. So,
Right.
and those of us left behind will get will not only get through this, but will be able to use their memory to
Mm-hmm.
make the world a better place, and to
Mm-hmm.
reconnect with our values, and to have motivation to keep moving forward and to build the world we want to be a part of.
So true. Yeah. Now, so tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna sit down because actually I should have like put a chair there. So my website is marisaraymond.com. It's Marisa, and then Raymond, like the first name, .com. And I'm on Instagram, Marisa Raymond 77. And I actually have a 5-day fun family yoga PDF that I would love to share with your followers. I created actually after talking to you. I was like, I have to put this together. So
Awesome.
5 themed yoga poses and a mindfulness activity around that theme. That's on. I can send you the link maybe.
Yeah, send her the link and then we'll just attach it to this.
Yeah. So so that's how you can find me, marisaraymond.com. And I teach yoga and I do parent coaching as well.
Hmm.
And I'm just really excited to connect with you, connect with people that follow you, because we
Oh,
are stronger together. Like
yeah,
we really are.
so true. So true. And so, what final words do you want to leave with everybody?
Um, I think that's just the message. Like,
Hmm.
we are more alike than we are different. I'm a
Yes.
genetic counselor, so that is true on a genetic level and
Hmm. Hmm.
true on a global level.
Wow.
Um, and just trust yourself.
Yeah.
When you trust yourself, then trusting your children becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
when and know that you're not alone in the journey.
Hmm.
Like I said, we're
That's
stronger
awesome.
together. Reach
Well,
out for help
hmm,
and feel the love from across the ocean. So
so true. I love that. I mean, and I think that's just the thing. We have to be mindful of, all the things we have in common. We all have a lot of the same anxieties, but, together we can share our stories and we can build one another up. So that's just phenomenal. So,
we
so glad
all matter, right? Like
that
the image, like I feel like we are all pieces of a puzzle, and
hmm.
we are all important. We all matter. We're all worthy. And our role here on this planet is to find how we fit in with other people to create this puzzle. That's how I see it. I love puzzles.
I do too. Do you do jigsaw puzzles or
I
word puzzles?
do. I love jigsaw puzzles. That we spent a lot of COVID doing jigsaw puzzles.
You know what? I love puzzles. We did some as well, and it's so relaxing.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
And you know that there's a finish.
exactly. Now, so do you do the outside first, or do you do what's your pattern when you do the puzzles?
um, I go back and forth. I there are moments where I'm like, I know it's just easier to find all of the edge pieces. So I'm like, I'm gonna do that because it feels easier. And I feel like when I get into it, like I tell myself I'm gonna do that, and then I find like two middle pieces that fit.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should do middle pieces. So I would say I'm more of an outer person and then work my way in, but I also kind of go all over the place.
wow.
And for me, and I don't know if this resonates for you, the hardest thing is to stop. It's also the biggest lesson about puzzles, why I feel like puzzles is such a allegory for life, because you get to that point where you get frustrated, especially if the puzzle's big enough.
Yes.
And like, and you're like, I can do it. I can do it. And it's like 2:00 in the morning and you're like, just one more.
That's my husband is like, are you still over there with that puzzle? You know, and it's like one more piece, you know, it's like, go to bed already. Yeah.
And I'm totally the person that at the end, when it's done, I'm like, I'm never taking this apart. I'm going to glue it and like frame it and put it on. And then like my husband's like, and when are you going to do that by? Because we need the dining room table at some
for
point.
dinner.
No. I'm like, no, I'm totally going to do it. And
Isn't that the truth? I'm with you. I am with you. That is fun. So, well, you know, America's Supermom, my kids are in the background making a bunch of noise. So I'm glad we had this time of quiet and serenity before. Yeah. You know what? Look, mom duty's calling, right?
Exactly. And it's happy hour here. So
awesome.
I have to go get my kids dinner.
Okay. Well, this has been wonderful. So I just want to thank everybody for watching. I encourage you to get a hold of Marisa and, you know, get that PDF, because it's so important to have opportunities so we can connect with our kids and create memories and do something that's stress relieving and helps us all to be better versions of ourselves. And remember, peace begins with me. See you guys next time.